we are going to try to welcome our friend Kevin Reilly back to Philly Pressbox Radio. There he is. Kevin, I got it right, buddy.
You got it, buddy. I'm glad to be with you. And we got this 2-0 start, and I got a couple of ideas on how they hung in there the first two games.
Well, hey, first of all, I wanted to ask you how you're doing. It's been a little while since we've seen you on here, and I know you've been a little under the weather. How you feeling? Everything good?
Yeah, I just keep coming back for more.
There you go.
When I get to heaven, St. Peter's going to say, "What did you do with all the parts?"
Well,
I'm feeling super healthy right now. I had a close call there in January where they opened me up and they found that I had a very rare very rare disease that only 4 other adults have had or is documented. And this thing could have killed me. It was hanging on to this plate that was in my my area from my first operation 45 years ago, and it really went well.
Well, good. So you're back in business.
I'm back in business, and I'm feeling so much better. I don't know when that when that disease started. It could have started sometime. It could have stopped sometime after I guess August, but the bacteria was building itself on the broken plate that I had, and so they took it all out and gave me the the antibiotic. It took them 3 days to find the antibiotic that would kill this disease, and it did. And all I can say, it just wasn't my time.
Fantastic. Good. Well, we're glad of that. Hey, I got to thinking, get ready for the show. You and I first met somewhere around 1973, 74, 72, 50 some years ago, my friend. I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to tell our listeners and new viewers from before that how you and I met at Collingdale High School when I was a student and you were a student teacher, substitute teacher.
Yeah, it was one of those incredible good luck things. I got a call from a buddy of mine who was already doing some of the teaching up there for the teachers that were on vacation or took a day off. I was a substitute teacher, and I probably was there 2 to 3 days a week, different classrooms, and all I was supposed to do was hold them in their seats and make sure they weren't roaming the halls. But I ended up doing a little bit of teaching then, and I enjoyed the kids. I really did. And after the 3 o'clock bell went off, I went from there to Veteran Stadium to do my weightlifting. So it all worked out really well for me. But I had this one kid, and he was you, and he just couldn't ask enough questions as to what was going on.
Just wouldn't go away.
Especially anything that had to do with sports.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of truth to that. And I tell you, it was great for us as high school guys. We were hanging out with an eagle.
Yeah. I'll tell you, there was 3 guys that I coached when I really got familiar with them. They wanted to get in a weightlifting meet, and I became their coach. And that was really an interesting and something I'll never forget. These 3 guys went into the into the scrum, I say, of participating. It was a bench press, a squat, and a deadlift, and I had tears in my eyes at the end. The way they focused, the way they gave it their best efforts. A couple of them came in like second and third in their division, its weight class, and I just thought, boy, where were these kids, and how come there's not enough help getting them into these programs? And that's something I'll never forget. Those kids, they went out there that day and tried to prove that they were somebody.
That's awesome. Hey, let's talk about a little bit of the Eagles. A lot being said about the Eagles play calling under new OC Kevin Petula. Not getting A.J. Brown the ball, not getting Devontae Smith the ball, this and that. But you know what? They're 2-0, pal.
And, that's all that matters, although I think you'll see some differences this week against the Rams. The Rams, really didn't have an answer during the playoffs. And I think they haven't gotten much better, although they've got a little better. But it'll be interesting to see. But as well as I do that this team, anywhere it goes, it's going to be the number 1 team that the schedule of the competitors, they want to beat them, and they're going to get their very best effort from the teams in their own division and the ones outside their division. And that's when you just got to buckle up your strap and say, hey, we got to do what it takes to win. And I'm really impressed. I'll tell you, I'm really impressed with the clubhouse now, especially, our guy, A.J. Brown, not complaining about only getting, one target in the first game. He had 5 receptions in the second, all for 27 yards. And, you don't hear anybody on the team complaining about anything. And Dotson is coming out of, I think, a good situation, making some great catches. But the guy that's running that show, and I think they all respect now more than everything, is our quarterback. Hurts is unbelievable. He can do it all. He doesn't care about getting 300 yards passing if they win the ball game. And his ability to run has even gotten better than it's been in the past. So they'll just keep doing what they have to do to win. That's all you need to do. And then the other thing you have to do, you got to keep healthy. You just got to stay healthy some way. And that's not always something that you can, look forward to and prevent.
Yeah. Well, I think, as well as I do, you win games in the National Football League by not turning the ball over. One of the big things. And I think the Eagles knew their defense was in pretty good shape in this game. They created the turnover that ended up being the big play. They also, in my mind, statistically, I say they created another turnover on the 4th down stop. So they got the interception, they got the 4th down stop, and they went into a little bit of an offensive protective game plan because the defense was in good shape, and why take a chance of making their own turnover or Jalen Hurts getting hurt with the 7-man or 8-man rush they were throwing out there?
Well, I think they knew they could they could wait this team out and eat the clock up. I really do. And I think your analogy there is really good. You don't want to get somebody hurt in that situation. And as long as you're moving the ball, you're taking the time off the clock. And I just thought they did an excellent job of doing that. And they got a couple first downs, going in that drive. And, they knew where they were too. They knew where they were. And once again, the tush push was used, I think, 3 times. And one of them was a 4th and 1 that was critical. And where would we be without that play?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I like it. Hey, over on the defensive side, which I know you just love, they're an average age of 24 on the defense right now. With the addition of Jahad Campbell and Andrew Makuba, they're stepping in as rookies, and we kind of want to forget, I guess, already that Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are just second-year guys. This defense is really, really young.
It's really young. It's really aggressive, and I think it's very talented. The speed on this team is something we've never had. You mentioned a couple of the cornerbacks names, and DeJean, Cooper DeJean is one of the fastest guys on the team. And he came in as a rookie, not acting like a rookie. And so did Mitchell. And, these guys, if you have that kind of confidence and you have the skill sets, you're fast, you're strong, you're bright, you know how to read plays and stuff. Yeah, you can be an all-pro in your rookie year if you put it all together. And these guys were very close to doing that. I'll tell you, I really like the new linebacker that you mentioned. He's doing a fantastic job. Now that he's had 2 games under his belt, he's only going to get better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the remaining linebacker, Zach Bond, he's to me, he's an interesting kind of guy because he's broken the mold of what Ray Lewis looked like, big and thick and heavy. This guy looks like a sprinter that can bring the hammer with him, but he's all over the field. He's hunting down guys in the backfield or chasing pass coverage.
Well, this is very interesting you bring that up. Back in the day, I was Bill Bergey's backup. Bill weighed 255 pounds, only on Mondays when he couldn't eat on Sunday because we all had to get on the scale. He played at about 260 throughout the season. He was 6 foot, and he played on the top of his toes. He had very, very strong below the belt muscles in his legs and his feet. He wasn't a big weightlifter, but he had some bulk up there, and he could chase down anybody. He challenged me week after week in a 40-yard dash, and he was determined to get me. And he never got me, and he shouldn't have. I was 35 pounds lighter than him, but you don't see guys coming along like that anymore. That can play that position that well. And I think what has happened also, the defensive coordinators, they understand now that everybody's bigger. The offensive lines are all over 300 pounds. Usually, they're coming in on an average of 330, 340 as you go across the line. And you can't have the 230-pound linebacker or 225-pound linebacker taking on those one-on-one blocks. You got to have, some more muscle in there. And I think that's going out through the league. But you mentioned Bond. He's special.
Yeah.
He was, I know, 15 yards behind a guy, maybe 12 yards behind a guy that caught a pass last week. And he had the angle, and he made the tackle at about the 12-yard line. He never gave up. And I'm like, look at this guy run at his size. And Fazio has figured out this guy is talented, and he's put him in a position to succeed. That doesn't happen a lot of times. Some of the coaches say, this is our program. This is our format. Here's what we're going to run. No, this Fazio, he sits back there and says, how can I eliminate this guy being in there when he's got a weakness somewhere? And how can I get him to get more snaps when they're playing right up his alley with what his strength is? So I think you're going to see him continue, to grow. And he's obviously the leader of the defense right now.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, you mentioned about staying healthy. I saw an interesting stat I jotted down. I wanted to share with you, and you already brought it up. The offense has played already. They played 123 snaps so far in the two games. Jalen Hurts has played all of them, but so has Lane Johnson, Tyler Steen, Cam Jurgens, and Jordan Mailata. They've played every snap so far. Only Landon Dickerson missed 11 snaps on that offensive line. And on the defensive side, 121 snaps. Zach Bond, Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, and Reed Blankenship have played every one of those snaps. Can you maintain that? Is that even possible to play every snap every game?
Boy, defensively, when you're talking about cornerbacks and safeties, when they're switching up wide receivers on you in the fourth quarter, you got to have some guys you can count on that have the speed to hold on, even though they don't have the experience sometimes. I mean, experience is a wonderful thing, but if you don't have the speed to get to the guy after he gets away from you, then what good is the experience? And I haven't seen them, moving that backfield around, only because the other thing is they're young. Yeah. And, they're 24. You talked about it. A couple of them there are 23, and they're young. And so those two things do well for them. And the defensive coordinator, Fazio, I mean, he is really something else, this guy. He doesn't give up any of his secrets. Yeah. He really doesn't care what anybody thinks about him, but he loves the guys that come in that, utilize their best talents and their best strengths and are smart. And he'll put those guys in the ball game and with, confidence. And I think that's really important. Now, the down linemen, for the down linemen to go those many snaps, you usually see a lot of substitution, and makes the offensive linemen, vulnerable because they're going to play every snap.
Right.
And when you're doing these substitutions, but these guys were playing so well, you don't want to change what's working there. And that definitely, that defensive line was working well together. They really forced some situations where, not only in a Dallas game, but in the last week's game of the quarterback scrambling around for their life.
Well, tell me, talking about the defensive line as a teammate and a leader, what do you say to Jalen Carter if you're on his football team after the debacle on week one? Or do you let the coaching staff deal with it and you take care of your own business and let them take care of him?
If I'm Bill Berge in that situation where I'm the leader, okay, Bill would have said in his own voice, listen, we can't do that. We'll get 15 yards. he always sounded like he had a different voice. But anyway, I as I saw what happened behind the scenes, where the Dallas quarterback Prescott was spitting, but he said he was spitting on the ground. He didn't hit anybody. I think I think Carter didn't mean to spit on him, meant to hit the dirt also. I think they were going to match spits, but he just wasn't good enough, and he hit the guy. I mean, it was almost criminal. And
Yeah.
if they had treated, think about this: if the rules had been reversed, that thing would have been a runaway game.
Oh yeah.
You take your quarterback out. So that's a lesson he learned. And the other thing is, you can't intimidate people that are playing professional football. I don't know why these guys waste their breath and what anything else, and they only do is they make them angrier, and then when the game gets out of control, these guys, then they start mouthing off back to you. I just don't see it, but that's the way some of them are.
I hear you. Hey, Nick Sirianni, he's coached 70 games now, and he's won 50 of them. Hard to believe it's year 5 already. 50-20. We know he's got a bunch of talent, but what are we dealing with here with this guy? Only 3 guys. Guy Chamberlain in the 1920s, John Madden, and Vince Lombardi have better winning percentages right now than Nick Sirianni. What are we dealing with here?
Overall, I think after they did the practices and the first year, I believe they bought into his system. And his system had a lot of education in it. As you get 90 minutes out there in a practice, man, you got to get a lot of stuff in. You don't get 91 minutes, you get 90 minutes. That alarm goes off and the coach has got to leave the field. So you really have to have fundamentals. And he took, I think, he took the high road and said, I want to be around here for 4 or 5 years. And at least and until I teach them the fundamentals that they can rely on year after year, then we can put the offense in a position to score, the defense in their best position. And I think they've really bought in. The guys that came in there that were playing for him, you talked about that offensive line. There's some seniors on that line that, he really took control of. You talk about Johnson, you talk about Mailata. I mean, what a story there. What a book is waiting for that. A guy playing
right.
Australian football. And the only thing that I'm concerned about, and I hope if it comes down to a playoff game, is you got to put him in the backfield if it's 4th and 4. if you've seen his clips from rugby,
Oh yeah,
he was dragging 2-3 people at a time and didn't break stride.
massive.
But
massive.
they're afraid to get him hurt, for the season. But I wouldn't be surprised. But they're doing the tush push so well that if they had that 4th and 3. And they put him in the backfield, they could even do that as a decoy. I think that that's the only thing I think they're missing there is that opportunity.
There you go. Hey, I wanted to ask you before we run out of time. You mentioned a book, and do you still have your books? Christmas season's coming. Do you still sell your books? And give a quick rundown maybe for people that don't know about it.
Well, I started my book 5 years ago with the help of my very best friend John Reilly, and John, it was his first attempt at a book, and we got a book out there. We were, I mean, God was good with us. I got to talk to people just locally and socially that I said, oh, you wrote a book, or you know about book writing, and they gave me a lot of information that John and I would have probably had to find out through going through the process, and, oh, this wasn't good, that wasn't good. And they gave us a really good structure to write the book about. It's under 200 pages, 194 pages. The chapters are short and sweet. We were told to do that. We were told to make sure that every chapter started on the right-hand margin, or right-hand page rather than the left. And they told us to make to make the chapter small, 3-4 pages at a time, because that's what happens out there with everybody's focus. They pick up these real thick books that have 30-page, chapters. It takes a couple hours to read, where somebody will say, I'm on the bus right now, maybe I'll read 1 or 2 chapters in this book. And so many people have told me when I get to about the 3rd or 4th chapter, I'm still reading
Yeah.
because we got them hooked.